throw? And if so, if that is the game plan that we both kind of outlined there, do you think we have a guy like Jair shadowing Allen Robinson?
Yeah, it's proven to be a successful formula so far this season. So I think if we have Jair on their best wide receiver, I like that matchup. I like him. He's a top three cornerback in the league, and I put my money on him all day. So I think yeah, if we're in man to man, for sure, we need Alexander on somebody like Allen Robinson. But um, what I like about that is forcing him to maybe look another direction. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I'd love to see him, Trubisky try to force one into Jimmy Graham, or David Montgomery instead of, just giving him the option to kind of rush it or hand it off. And on that note of a shadow, that's one of those things I was kind of thinking about. So I'm going to jump to this and talk a little bit about who on defense I think needs to have a big game. And I think in some situations you'd have a safety, maybe shadow Trubisky just to make sure he's not getting out, somebody like Adrian Amos.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm thinking too from our inside linebacking core, if Kamal Martin's got the mic and he's our main inside guy, having him kind of just staying home, before he makes a break at Mitch Trubisky, just to make sure he's not going to be running on us. Because if we can keep somebody to shadow him, and keep his legs from beating us, I think that's going to be another key to success for this game.
Yeah, I think defensively too, Christian Kirksey had a huge game last week, maybe his best game of the year, right? He had a big pick, a couple tackles for a loss. I think to your point, if you have someone there in the middle of the field, really locking down the other threat that you said, Jimmy Graham, who's not historically been a threat this year, but we haven't really, matched up too much against tight ends. We're playing the tight end well, but we haven't seen kind of that premier tight end yet, and I don't by any means put Graham in that category, but he can definitely go off, right? He had 69 yards and 2 catches for touchdowns last week, so I think like just like you said, Kamal Martin, Christian Kirksey, the guys in the middle of the field there, those linebacking core, I think the game's going to rest on their shoulders defensively.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well,
how about
why don't we talk a
offensively?
little? Okay, go ahead.
No, take it away. Is there, is there a key to success that we want to, that we need to do to beat the Bears here this weekend?
I was kind of going back and forth on this. I wasn't sure if I wanted to pick a receiver or a running back, or a tight end, but I think I'm going to go O-line. And again, it's not just one player, but with Akeem Hicks back and the pass rush that the Bears can generate, I'm going to go with our O-line. They've been really playing well this season. They've had a couple of games with kind of suboptimal performance, but again, if they can keep Aaron Rodgers upright and they can give him 3 seconds to throw the ball, in any given drop back, I think that bodes well for us. It's going to be a long day for the Bears defense. However, if they're able to get in there, disrupt Aaron Rodgers, and for some reason we're not able to run the ball very effectively, it's going to be a long day for our offense. So I'm going to go with the O-line. No one in particular, but whoever is kind of lining up across from those formidable Bears pass rushers.
For sure. Yeah, and I'm going to basically echo what you're saying, but just, move back to that running back. I think A.J. Dillon needs another really big game. Again, Aaron Jones is our running back, and I'm suspecting he's going to have a pretty good game as well. But like we mentioned last week, he might be more of that perimeter style running back, and I really want A.J. Dillon to convert on those short third and short plays, and those really dirty yards, right, where you're going right up the gut, where everyone knows you're running it for a yard, but you still get 2 or 3 anyway. So A.J. Dillon offensively is going to be my key player of the game.
Perfect. Okay. Well, we talked about offense. I talked about my defensive player of the game. Who do you think on defense for the Packers needs to have a big day?
Yeah, kind of like your answer with the offensive line, I'm going to switch it over and say defensive line. Kenny Clark is the one guy I'm going to, pick. He doesn't show up a lot on the stat sheet, but he's having another, monster year this year. And we need to do what we just did to Derrick Henry last week, against a not as intimidating running back in David Montgomery. If we can kind of sell out, stop the run, Kenny Clark doesn't, keeps these rushes to under 3 yards, early in the downs, and we're putting Mitch Trubisky to then throw the ball deep on our, superior corners and secondary. I really like our chances. So I think it all starts with Kenny Clark in the middle of that. Don't let David Montgomery have another 100-yard game on us. We kind of started David Montgomery's rebirth this season, so I would really like to end it and can keep David Montgomery well under 100 yards and have him kind of back to what he was looking like early in the season in that 50 to 70 yard marker.
Okay. And we are recording this a couple of days earlier than we normally would due to the holiday season. So the injury report hasn't been updated as of now. It's very similar to last week's, but I think we can expect Jamal Williams to be out again this week, especially with the way A.J. Dillon played last week. Outside of him, Rick Wagner went out with an injury. Not sure if we'll see him or not, but the way we've been able to, shuffle our O-line, I'm not too worried about that, I guess, at this point. And then, I'm looking at the Bears injury report. Nobody really of note on that report. So pretty much you're going to have 2 healthy squads here. So not much to talk about on the injury report.
Let's talk about that, though. Let's talk about the fact that there's not a lot for us to talk about on the injury report. The last 2 years, the Packers have been super fortunate to have, we've had key players miss some time. But no, knock on wood, really, season-ending injuries for any of our key players. And this is the healthiest I feel like the Packers have been at this stage in the season in a long time. Am I crazy? Am I making that up, or does that feel that way to you too?
Well, I think last year, like you said, we were really healthy going into the playoffs. But yeah, it's the same story this year. We've lost a couple of guys for 3, 4, 5 games. But guys like Kamal Martin are able to come back, and he's playing really well. Obviously, A.J. Dillon was out for about 5 weeks on the COVID list. Devontae Adams missed a couple of games. But, yeah, to your point, for the most part, we've been able to stay really healthy. Now, guys like, Zadarius Smith and Rashawn Gary have been nicked up here and there, and they might miss a couple of plays or even a series on defense. But, yeah, relatively healthy Green Bay Packers team going into this game, and that's obviously what you want come playoff time. So, huge advantage if the Packers can win this game, get the only bye in the entire NFC conference, and kind of get some guys another week of rest and focus on that team for the first round of the playoff.
For sure. Yeah, before we get to our predictions, I just remind everyone what we mentioned kind of at the top of the episode, which is the only other game that you should be watching on your phone and the score ticker at the bottom of the screen, because all these games that have playoff implications are all played at the same time as to not give any one team an advantage in resting players. But we do want to focus in on that Seattle game, and they're playing a non-playoff team in the 49ers, but Kyle Shanahan would love nothing more than to spoil Pete Carroll's chance at having the number 1 overall seed. So, I think the Seahawks, they've been struggling as of late. I think that's going to be a game they should win, but a tough game nonetheless against the 49ers. So that's the one game that we should all keep our eye on as we're watching our game. But now that we've kind of gone through offensive, defensively, players of the game, what we think we would like to see out of our offenses, how do you think this game is going to go for the Packers? The Packers, by the way, are favored by 4.5 points. The over-under is 50.5. And do you think the Packers are going to win, cover, and score more or less than 50 points?
So here's what I think is going to happen. I think that the combined, they're going to hit the over the 50.5. I think it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a little bit back and forth. Possibly, the Packers might have to come from behind to win this game. I'm predicting a Mason Crosby field goal to win it. I've got the Packers winning 31-30. Not covering the 4.5, but covering the point spread.
I love it. Packers, then of course would be securing that number 1 overall seed. I don't like how close it is in your prediction. I'm not thinking you're wrong. I'm just thinking that's going to be a tough thing to stomach here on Sunday afternoon. I have it decently close too, but I have the Packers winning in a lower scoring game with the same logic I had last week, that the field is going to be a little sloppy. Now, last week I was proven wrong, so why would I go for it again? But I have the under with the Packers covering, winning 27-20. I think the Bears are going to have a harder time scoring on this defense. It's going to be the best defense they've seen since they've played us 5 weeks ago. And I think we're going to frustrate Mitch Trubisky enough to have him turn the ball over a couple times. How about you? Let's do that. Tiebreaker. How many turnovers do you think the Packers can generate off the Bears this weekend?
I think the Bears are going to turn it over twice, and I think the Packers turn it over once.
Oh, love it. I'm going to say the Packers are going to give up the ball once, just like you, copying you, but I'm going to go one more. The Packers are going to turn the ball over 3 times. Love it.
Now, you just said the Packers are going to turn it over 3 times.
Sorry, the Packers are going to take the ball away 3 times.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Thanks for the clarification. I was like, whoa, why would you love that? But okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So the Packers turn it over once and take the ball 3 from the Bears. I love that too. I mean, here's hoping. Mitch Trubisky is definitely a quarterback the Packers have been able to fluster in the past. But he always seems to play a little bit better against us, I feel like, for the most part. I mean, obviously, he's been playing pretty well these last 4 games. But I guess, that's really everything. So to wrap it up, everybody listening, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spotify, and listen to us on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere you get your podcast, really. And Chuck, as always, go Pack, go.
Go Pack, go.